You're watching the Scoreboard presented by Augur and Chainlink. I'm Andy from Chainlink Labs, and this is Chwy from Augur for Friday, October 22nd. How you doing, man?
I'm doing good. Excited for this week.
Yeah, me too. There's some good games. I got to take a look at some good picks, so I'm excited. Hey, everybody, this is a football show. So why are we on the Chainlink YouTube? We do Web3 and blockchain oracles. Well, I'll tell you. Sports data delivered via the Chainlink Oracle network is used by Augur to settle their permissionless, no-limit prediction markets on Augur Turbo. So Chwy and I, we look at NFL and NCAA football data and prediction markets on Augur, and we talk football data supplied by the premium Chainlink data providers like The Rundown, SportsdataIO, SportMonks. So let's do some football data analysis. Last week, didn't get the episode out, but we did make some picks and predictions. So we'll talk about briefly some of our successes and failures there. How about you? You were worried about trap games last week. There was a bunch that were like, you thought, stay away. These are trap games. Not sure. So how did your picks work out, Chwy?
I was pretty solid on the trap games. Jacksonville got their first win over Miami. Denver lost to the Raiders after dealing with all the emotions with Gruden. Overall, pretty solid week. Hit on a bunch of unders for the week.
Yeah, the Miami and Jaguars in London under I picked because I said bad teams playing in a weird place, and so hit on that. That was nice. And I called Bama to beat the spread at Mississippi State. I said specifically that Mike Leach, will remember this, the audience won't, but Mike Leach his offense will be able to move the ball, but they'll be stuck on field goals. And they had 3 field goals, first, second, and third quarter, 1 each, and then nothing. So they were shut out. It's just one of the weaknesses of the air raid offense. If you have an inexperienced team who's not used to it, playing against a really good defense, which Alabama is, you just can't score. So that one worked out exactly as I talked about, which was exciting.
I think one of my bad picks, because I didn't listen to my strategy of a West Coast team coming east, was Chargers versus Baltimore. Chargers never showed up. They got demolished.
Dude, Baltimore looks good. Baltimore is becoming my favorite, man. They look really good.
And then I think I hit on my top pick, which was Dallas 3.5 over New England.
Nice job. Some of my bad ones were my other good one is everybody I was talking to was picking Arizona because they were 6-0 or 5-0, and so everyone was just doing gambler's fallacy of like, oh, they're gonna lose at some point, and then they came back and they beat Cleveland, who is a good team, but got really banged up. And Arizona's like Cardinals train. They're running, man. They're like one of the best teams.
Last undefeated team.
I thought the Bills would win and run away with it as well on Monday night. Crazy game, and they couldn't pull it out in the end. The fighting Derrick Henry's kind of came after him, and dude, that guy is a truck.
Yeah, that was my other big pick right there. Tennessee at home covering the spread, and they won outright.
So I was picking the Bills because I was just like, well, don't pick against them anymore. But it was close. I mean, it came down to the end, fourth quarter. Monday night games have been really, really fun. So that's been exciting this season, at least just to watch. I don't care, how the predictions come out on my end, at least. But when there's a good game. Okay, go ahead.
I was going to say Thursday night games, usually pretty miserable. Monday night games. Pretty awesome.
Well, this will come out Friday, and so Thursday night. I was looking at this game. You wanted to talk about it. That's coming out tonight, and it looks awful. So we'll get there for a minute. But a quick question for you before we get into next week's games: who is the most exciting player in football right now?
I think you got to go Derrick Henry. I mean, like you said, he's just a truck. And this week, they're going versus Kansas City. Kansas City could have all 11 players in the box, and they're not stopping Derrick Henry.
I mean, he's like a lineman. He's so
it's
big.
Amazing. He does this year in and year out, and at least in my fantasy leagues, he's usually like the third or fourth off the board. It's still with that Christian McCaffrey, Dalvin Cook, then maybe Henry or Kamara, and I think he's finally getting respect as the top back in the league.
Yeah, I wouldn't disagree with that as the back. However, the question was, who's the most exciting player? And I'm going to have to go with Lamar Jackson, quarterback of the Ravens. Just the way he's been leading that team has been really exciting. Comebacks on, Monday night and like throwing all over the field. He could move, he could run. And I like his style. I just like his style and his whole vibe and everything. So that's a little narrative thing as well.
Yeah, some of the moves he puts on and spins going at full speed, almost nobody else in the league can really do that.
Josh Allen was fun to watch on Monday night. He makes some cool back foot throws. He's fun to watch. He's got the whole mustache thing happening. But Lamar's just really where it's at for me. My kid asked me, Dad, who's the best player? Like, you just want to know who's the best one. So that's an interesting kind of question over all around football player. I'll let you marinate on that one. We'll come back to that one maybe another time. Here we go. Augur used sports data from the Rundown and other data providers via Chainlink to settle those Augur Turbo prediction markets. And coming up, we've got a new set of games, markets, and odds to look at. Let's go through the list. You wanted to talk about tonight's game, which is Thursday night when we're recording. So let's talk about it a little bit because I went and researched this morning. It is Cleveland and Denver. Where is it?
Spread opened at 3.5. I took Denver plus 3.5. Cleveland was actually favored. The line is now into 1.5 because of all of Cleveland's injuries. Baker Mayfield not playing, ODB a game time call.
Okay, here's the injury list. ODB is questionable. Jack Conklin is questionable. Clowney has like 3 injuries, is questionable. Baker Mayfield's out. Nick Chubb's like, what's going on? And then the Broncos too. Teddy Bridgewater's out. And other folks too. This is a disaster of a game.
Well, I actually think Teddy Bridgewater's going to play with his foot injury. I was reading this morning, so he might actually start. Chubb out, Kareem Hunt out. They're going to be starting their third string running back, who actually, in my opinion, is a pretty solid player still. They're pretty deep at running back.
What was your prediction on this?
Denver plus 3.5, and the over-under was 42.5. I'm taking the under.
All right. Well, I'm not playing any. I'm not actually, betting on any of this, but I'm going to predict the over on a narrative. Nothing to do with data. This is all story, and here's why. There's going to be so many backups in that they want to like set their contracts for the next season. And so this is the opportunity. It's Thursday night. It's the only game on TV everybody's watching. So this is the night for backups to really step up. Those number 2, number 3, number 4 guys to really make a play. Who knows if I'll be right, but that's my call. Because otherwise, this game, it kind of looks like a bit of an injury fest. Next game I wanted to look at was Kansas City at Tennessee. Kansas City was favored by 5.5 when I looked at it. What are you thinking about this?
I kind of feel Kansas City kind of got right last week with the 31-13 win. It wasn't totally clean. They're still turning the ball over a little too much. I just don't think Tennessee can stop them. I actually think they're the worst defense in the league. Over-under on this game opened at 55.5. It's actually moved up to 57.5, which is a pretty big jump. But seeing 88% of the wagers placed on the over on this game.
It was like every 5 minutes in the game, Tennessee would have an injury last week. They just kept sending people out. So even if they're playing, like I'm worried about that. And they found a way to win and got it out, and that's great. But it's just hard for me to see, especially with the secondary. Mahomes is going to be able to pass on them. They're going to score. They're going to rack up a lot of yards. So that I think that's why people are liking the over probably.
Both defenses are atrocious, and both offenses can put up points. I'm expecting A.J. Brown to play. Julio Jones, I'd expect to be out. And again, you're not stopping Derrick Henry.
I like Kansas City on this one, and you liked the over on this one?
Yeah, I'm going to lean to the over on this one.
All right, next game I'm looking at is Cincinnati, who I know nothing about Cincinnati. I was realizing I was looking at this and really dug into their data. We haven't talked about them much. At Baltimore, who I just talked about. I love Baltimore. When I saw Baltimore was favored at 6.5, what do you got?
64% of the wagers have been placed on Cincinnati. Mm-hmm. Cincinnati is a little more solid than they get credit for. Defense has really improved this year. Middle of the pack defense, and their offense can put up points. They definitely have a great receiving core. Mixon looks like he's starting to get healthy. I'm actually going to take Cincinnati with the points on this one.
Mm-hmm. So I was just trying to look at more data here, and they're pretty evenly matched on scoring, but not on yardage. Baltimore kind of has the ability to move the ball better, but I just couldn't see that being a 6.5 point difference in a game where they're pretty two evenly matched teams. So I'm with you on there. We're going to both take Cincy on the points, or predict Cincy on the points. I'm noting these down so I don't forget, because I go through them and I want to make sure we get them. Houston and Arizona. Houston is, boy, so bad, and Arizona is, boy, so good. Arizona's going to go 7-0, right? They're just going to steamroll them. But the spread was, or not? The spread was really big. Arizona was favored by 17, over under at 47.5 when I saw it. What do you think about this one? Is it time for Arizona to at least lose, a not cover?
Spreads this big, I usually stay away from, so I'm not going to be betting this game. Some news out of Houston, though. They are in progressing talks with Miami to trade Deshaun Watson, so my guess is they're just in full tank mode. Well, not even a guess. They're just not a good team, so they are in full tank mode. Yeah, again, I'm staying away from this game.
Well, I don't bet any of them, but I'm going to predict Arizona keeps rolling and steamrolls. They can do more than 17. We're going to see how far this team goes on my predictions. What was the other one you wanted to talk about?
Carolina Giants.
Oh, yeah, the Giants. Oh, boy, your Giants.
Hey, I've done very well betting against the Giants this year. And I will continue that trend this week. I'm taking Carolina -2.5, which looks like early on it's going against the trend, because 81% of the wagers are actually on New York.
The injury list was atrocious there too. It looked brutal. You gonna send Saquon some chocolates and apologize for being on your team, but tell him to stick around for another season or two?
Yeah, Saquon's out. Kadarius Toney re-injured his ankle. Kenny Galladay's still not practicing. Yeah, they're in bad shape.
I just wanted to stay away from this one completely and get your take, because it seemed like a really rough game just to be a part of and watch. So, but I'm going to write down you took Carolina on this. That was at -2?
2.5. Yep.
2.5. All right, cool. The other game I saw that I wanted to take a look at was Chicago at Tampa Bay. Again, a pretty big spread. But I called it as interesting because Chicago's defense is still pretty good. Just looking at their ability to stop people, they're ranked relatively highly in top 10 in some in the NFL. And Tampa Bay's passing is the number 1 in the nation right now. But 12.5 points seems like a lot. So what do you think about Chicago's ability to cover that?
I'm actually still leaning Tampa on this. Chicago's better versus the run and running backs. Tampa has way too many offensive weapons, the receiving core, especially if Antonio Brown plays. I know he's still dealing with an ankle injury, but if they have him, Evans, and Godwin healthy, and once they get Gronk back, there's just too many weapons for them to cover.
Overwhelming. All right, cool. Well, I'll take note of that. Were there any other NFL games that stood out to you this week, Chwy? I think those were kind of our major ones.
Yeah, take a look real quick. Saints Seattle, and we know how much I don't like Winston, but Seattle's still banged up without Russ. 67% is on the over at 43 points, and I think I'm going to go with that. Also think I'm going to lean the Saints on this at the 5.5 points.
Chwy likes Saints at 5.5. Has Winston improved at all? I have not been tracking him the past few games. We talked about him early in the season. He had one dynamite game, then a choke game, and then it seemed average, at least the scores are, but I haven't really followed.
Yeah, no, he's average at best.
Sometimes that's what you get. Still better than me. Cool, man. Let's turn over to some college games. There's a few interesting ones that we saw here. I'm going to start with a cliche game. Oklahoma State at Iowa State. Oh, there were some weird games this week. There's a bunch of games where there's a ranked team visiting an unranked team, and the unranked team is predicted to win, and in some cases a pretty far deviation. Oklahoma State is one of these at Iowa State. Iowa State is favored by 7, a touchdown. Did you track this game at all?
I did. This is one of those games where, a team comes back. I know Oklahoma State is still one of the undefeated teams, and they came back in a really emotional game versus Texas last week.
Amazing. It was really great.
This is one of those scenarios where you get that letdown game coming off an emotional game. And I think that's what's happening with the spread here. Plus, Iowa State is really firing on all cylinders right now.
They were highly ranked earlier in the season, so
Yeah.
they've had a couple of rough losses. So I can see why the spread is there. But I'm going to be a cliche guy here. Oklahoma State is a team that knows how to win. I hate that phrase. It doesn't mean anything, but it does. It means something. They can get it done. They had the comeback back at Texas, a rough, loud crowd, and an impressive win. They did a lot of stopping too, so they were pretty good.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Iowa State on this one. Not with the points though. I would take them on the money line.
All right. We'll see. I think Oklahoma State's one of those teams that everyone's going to be like, wait, who? What are they doing this year? Who's on their team? And then you're going to learn about them earlier on, later in the season.
And then the over/under on this game was 46.5.
That seems low.
Yeah, agree. I'm taking the over on this one as well.
I learned my lesson about the Big 12. It's still the Big 12. They're still scoring a million points. A game that you had, Pittsburgh and Clemson. This is Clemson at Pittsburgh, I believe, and Pitt is ranked in the top 25, in the low 20s, but still there, and they've been playing really well. What did you see about this game? I'm curious.
So far this year, Clemson is 0-7 in its last 7 versus the spread. I'm taking Pitt on this one. I just think, Clemson is not the same team that we're used to. Yeah.
So I was looking at the scoring, and Pitt can score like crazy. They've got they got a ton of receivers. The quarterback's running a ton. They got multiple running backs they're cycling through. They've got a lot of weapons. Clemson is not the same team, and Pitt will want to take advantage of that because that's a rivalry, an in-conference rivalry that Clemson has dominated for the last few years. So I'm with you there. I think Pitt is going to step up and really handle this game as well, at least, from my instinct. And it's at Pitt, I believe. So
yep.
Everything good there for the crowd to get into it and take advantage of that one. All right. I got to write that one down too. We both like the Pitt. Is Narduzzi still the coach there? So fighting Narduzzi's. Anyways, the other game I saw is a Big Ten game. I said I wouldn't pick teams from Michigan anymore, but this one was too juicy. Northwestern at the University of Michigan. Michigan favored by 23.5. Michigan is the number 7 rushing offense in the nation, and Northwestern is the number 124th rushing defense in the nation. This is a yikes game. This is a I don't know what's gonna happen, man. I feel bad for this one. This is a cringe game. I'm not gonna watch it.
Yeah, game I'm staying away from with the line at 24, but I do expect Michigan to run all over Northwestern.
I mean, they're going to put on a show. There's a rivalry game next week, the Michigan State-Michigan game. Michigan State's got a bye week this week, and so Northwestern. On the other hand, if things get out of control in the first half, Michigan could just send in the subs, and maybe it gets a little closer to make sure that they're in a good position for Michigan State, Ohio State, some really big games down the quarter. So that's my thing to watch out for. I'm staying away from this game as a prediction, but that stuff could happen.
I don't even think Northwestern could stop the second or third string running backs anyway.
Yeah, good luck to the fellas in purple. Stay healthy, everybody, to all you kids playing football out there, young men. And Chewy, you got any other games or any interesting lines that you want to talk about this week?
Yeah, let's talk about USC Notre Dame.
Oh, yeah. I didn't look at this one. What do you got here? This is a classic rivalry. I love the rivalry aspect of this, but USC is not playing well.
Neither team has really been that great, in my opinion. But I do expect them to put up a lot of points. I think in their last 8 meetings, they average 57 points a game. The line over underlines at 58.5. I'm going to take the over in this one.
A couple of teams weren't playing well, coming for a rivalry game, put up a lot of points in front of a fun crowd. All right, I'm not going to make a call. I know nothing about these teams this season. I've stayed away from both of them. I Pac-10 shock and or something. Cool, man. Let me write that down real quick too, just so I don't forget, so I can bring it back to you if you made a brilliant call. Taking the over at 58.5. Awesome. Any thoughts creep into your head? Who's the best player in football right now?
Most valuable player in football, in my opinion, and I mentioned him earlier, and I'm sticking with it. I'm still sticking with Derrick Henry, and he would be. When was the last time you would see a running back in that discussion that's not a quarterback for MVP?
They wouldn't have won that game without him, and they've got a chance at everything with him. So I'm not going to argue with you. I'm not sure who it is myself. I need to watch a little bit more ball, get a sense of who's doing well this year. But certainly Derrick Henry in the discussion. That's what I'll tell my kid. I'll tell him Derrick Henry. Show him a picture of Derrick Henry up next to me. I'm a big guy, but probably Derrick Henry's probably outweighing me by a couple hundo. All right. Well, that's the scoreboard for this week. This is absolutely not financial advice. It's a look at football and how Augur and Chainlink make on-chain games possible. Next week, we'll be back. Right? Yeah, next week we'll be back. We'll look at how the market's performed, how our predictions worked out, and of course, we'll follow the major stories for the following week's games. Like and subscribe. If you're a developer, you can use Chainlink Sports Data in your smart contract. You can check those links in the description and find links to all sorts of Augur things as well. Chwy, it's been good talking with you. I'll see you later, man.
Catch you next week.